That's why it is connected. This is disconnected. Is it fixed? Nope. Still says episode 127. Denise, good to see you. How you doing? Shelly, morning. Good to see you as well. How you doing? Apologies, everyone, for the very, very late live show. There's a new problem every day with Restream. Today, decided to log me out, and then it brought me to a random page on the website of Restream that I've never been to before. I had to log back out, log back in, and hopefully hope that it comes back to the page that I normally use to do this live show in. And the title still hasn't been fixed on X. And Restream keeps on messaging me and saying, you know, they're looking into it. It's going to take 48 hours. Every day they tell me it's going to take 48 hours for that problem to be fixed. So since the title isn't still fixed on X, I've decided to put the title on the live show itself. So when people do come into the live show, they can tell it's episode 137 and not episode 127. New problem every day with Restream. T, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Denise, good to see you. How you doing? Let's go. Good evening, Miles and all CMF. Adi, good to see you. How you doing? Dennis, good to see you. How you doing? Hi, Miles and CMF. Hello, Miles and family. Comatus, good to see you. How you doing? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Yesterday, I listened to you at work. I couldn't comment. We finally got to get our money back. Let's go tour. So let's do a gist of what we're going to talk about on tonight's live show, and then by that time everyone's tuned in for the first part of the live show. We'll do a gist of what we're going to go through on tonight's live. A lot of things have happened inside the crypto space, mainly the Jerome Powell speech, essentially the announcement from RFK Kennedy, and also an announcement from Sony as well. Some other announcements to go through as well on tonight's live show. But a lot of things have happened. Good idea, Miles. Let's go, Shelly. Good evening to my wonderful family of friends. Let's go, JP. And Funky Brother, good to see you. How you doing? Evening. Ian, good to see you. How you doing? Evening. How you been? So on tonight's live show, we are going to be talking about these topics. We're going to go through the Jerome Powell speech. We're going to go through all the key points on Jerome Powell's speech and how the market is reacting so far in a positive way and how it could continue reacting in a positive way so far. We're also going to be talking about another perspective from another Fed member who's came out under the recent interview straight after Jerome Powell's interview of how the market is going to play out. He did an interview on CNBC. We're also going to be talking about the pro-Bitcoin candidate RF Kennedy Jr. endorsing Trump for presidency, which is quite massive news. Now we have two crypto people essentially on one side and then Kamala Harris and Sleepy Joe on the other side. If we get Elon Musk on, you know, Donald Trump and RF Kennedy Jr., I mean, it's definitely going to be one hell of a team. We're also going to go through the news topic of the Kraken case with the SEC and so far, how has it went, and a recent rejection has happened with the Kraken case. We're also going to be talking about essentially the SEC, mainly because the SEC is getting sued again by a different department. Not just the SEC getting sued, but Gary Gensler is actually getting sued. We're also going to go through the topic, a perspective from Tether's CEO on why hasn't he launched his own blockchain and will he ever launch his own blockchain. We're also going to talk about the topic of Binance on tonight's live show as well. Binance has decided to expand their reach in Africa with some new payment systems that could be utilized in Middle Eastern countries as well, but they're testing it out in Africa for now. We're also going to talk about Russia on tonight's live show as well. Russia is considering launching 2 crypto exchanges for stablecoin developments. We're also going to go through the news topic on tonight's live show regarding the DMM. Now, if you've never heard of the DMM, it's basically a project based out of Japan, and they're going to be launching a stablecoin. It's quite a massive play of what they're doing. We're going to go through what they've done so far, what they've achieved, and why they're launching a stablecoin in Japan. On the topic of Japan, moving away from the topic of Japan, we're also going to go through the topic of South Korea on tonight's live show as well. South Korea is becoming a powerhouse inside the cryptocurrency space by the looks of it, a powerhouse inside, a global powerhouse inside the blockchain space. And so far, how far they've progressed, what projects are they mostly into, and so on. There's a lot of things to cover regarding South Korea. We're also going to talk about the topic of on tonight's live, and South, by the way, just South Korea is massive on Ripple and XRP. We're also going to talk about Ton and Telegram on tonight's live show as well. As I've said multiple times, lots of crypto projects would dream of having, access to 900 million user base that Telegram has and Ton's going to have eventually, is what I've always said. Well, it seems like Telegram has given their perspectives of how much user base from Telegram is going to be transformed over to Ton's ecosystem, which is quite massive. We're also going to talk about Sony on tonight's live show as well. Recently, I talked about Sony. Actually, a while ago, I talked about Sony going into the blockchain space, developing some movements inside of that space and the Web3 space. Sony has finally came out and said which projects they're building on, and their project that's coming out is called Sononium. That's going to be coming out soon from Sony. We're also going to go through the topic of CBDCs on tonight's live show as well. A recent research study test has been done on CBDCs, but not just in CBDCs in general, but jurisdictions around the world that already have CBDCs. How good are they doing? How are the people being treated on the CBDCs? Because the entire world is going to go on CBDCs. So it's nice to hear a perspective based on a study test of countries that already have CBDCs in place and people are going using them on a daily basis. How is it going for those types of people using CBDCs, living under CBDC regulations, and so on? So quite a mixture of news to go through on tonight's live show. But the first news we're going to go through is the Jerome Powell one, because it really affects the market space on whatever he says. And it was good news. As I said previously, we're not going to be going into a recession. About 5 days ago, everywhere on the news, crypto influencers, everybody was talking about, we're going to go into a recession, we're going to go into a recession. And I said it's not possible because we're going into voting. So voting and recession don't really work out. After voting, after presidency recession, sure, why not? During voting, it's never going to happen. And the numbers can be stretched. So turns out no recession is on the way whatsoever from Jerome Powell's speech, and the market reacted in a very positive way. So before we go through the news regarding what Jerome Powell said word for word, on the bullet points that you should know about, let's go inside the comment section first. And I would like to say welcome to the CMF live show. If you're watching this for the first time ever, the CMF stands for Crypto Mouse Family. On this live show, you can tune in every single night. This is episode 137. I talk about the most recent things that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrency, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital era. And the disclaimer of this live show, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. We also do live Q&As as well, which means if you have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to help you out. So let's go inside the comment section first before we go to the first news, which is about Jerome Powell and the bullet points we have to cover. Let's go inside the comment section first. JP, good evening. Let's go. Thank you, brother. Let's go. How you doing? Orphan, good evening. How you doing? How you been? Woodhouse, good to see you as well. How you doing? How are you? I'm doing great. How you doing? How you doing, Miles or CMF? Lena, good to see you as well. How you doing? How is CoinMove? CoinMove is good. So long since I was in this live. Hope you have been well, Miles. Yaman, Khalid, good to see you as well. How you doing? Pablo, good to see you as well. How you doing? I'm so glad and relieved to see the markets moving in greens again. Let's go. Thank you, brother. Mike, good to see you as well. How you doing? Good day. Semper, good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening. Manny, good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening. So, first news on tonight's live show, Jerome Powell. It's going to be a long speech, so I thought let me have a sip of water first. Jerome Powell's speech. Everything Jerome Powell said at the Jackson Hole today. Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve Chair, was back in the Jackson Hole today and laid out the game plan for what's coming next with interest rates and the big news that is the rate cuts on the table. Jerome Powell told us that the era of relentlessness regarding rate hikes is ending. The direction of travel is clear, is what he said. But he also added the timing and pace of rate cuts will depend on the incoming data regarding the evolving outlook and the balance of risks. So basically, it's still up in the air. Jerome Powell's speech is coming just weeks before the Fed's meeting on September 17th and September 18th, where they might finally announce the first rate cut since the pandemic started. As we know, the Fed is exactly thrilled about the idea of a job market cooling off any further. That July's jobs report didn't help the mood either. Only 114,000 new jobs were added last month, and unemployment nudged up to 4.3%, the highest since October 2021. And don't forget, there's data showing that 818,000 fewer people were employed in the US as of March, suggesting the job market isn't as strong as it's thought to be. Now let's get into the meat of it. Jerome Powell took the opportunity to declare more or less victory in the battle against inflation. He's got some confidence that inflation is heading back to that magical number of 2% target at the Fed, regarding the Fed being chasing for a while now. Inflation has declined significantly, he said. The numbers back him up too. Inflation is down 2.5% using the Fed's favorite measures, and it's at 2.9% based on the consumer price index. Jerome Powell isn't popping off champagne bottles yet, but he's definitely more upbeat than he's been in the past. According to him, the worst of the pandemic-related economic disturbance are fading away. But it wasn't all good news. Jerome Powell admitted that they didn't see this inflation mess coming back in 2021. They thought that it was just a blip and temporary spike. They even used the word transitionary, which has now become a bit of a joke in the financial circles. He basically admitted it was a screw-up, saying that using transitionary was something they came to regret. It turned out inflation wasn't just passing the phase, and the Fed had to scramble to catch up. This led to 11 rate hikes over 2022 and 2023. That's a lot, but it does seem like essentially the hikes did the tricks, for now anyways. Jerome Powell didn't just talk about the inflation and rate cuts. He also opened up the Fed's learning curve during his whole pandemic ordeal. He confessed that even the experts were essentially caught off guard. The pandemic economy wasn't like anything we've ever seen before. The Fed chairman called for humanity, saying there's still a lot to learn from this period. He added that the Fed is ready to listen to new ideas and even criticism as they go into their 5-year review process later this year. We need a spirit of inquiry focused on learning from past experiences, he said. He also pointed out the supply constraints have eased up, which is helping the situation. The labor market is less crazy than it was before the pandemic. He talked about applying for essentially, but Jerome Powell isn't popping off the confetti just yet. There's still some tension, some stress. Jerome Powell wrapped up things by emphasizing the need for flexibility. He talked about applying lessons for the past, but doing so in a way that fits the current challenges. It's a balancing act, and he knows it. He's not about to let his guard down just because things are getting a little bit better. We have made a good deal of progress towards an objective, he said, but the work isn't over yet. Of course not. The Feds are always going to be manipulating the data. Now, regarding what Jerome Powell's speech was, it was positive in a sense, hence why the crypto market is reacting in a positive way. It was positive in a sense that he didn't come out in panic mode and say, we're going into a recession, we're doing 75 basis points, and so on, which a former White House member yesterday was claiming that, essentially what the Fed should be doing is doing an urgent rate cut of 75 basis, announcing of some sort, not doing it instantly, but announcing that we're going to do this. But the announcements were quite mellow. The announcements weren't too loud. They weren't, we're going into a recession, we're doing 75 basis points, and so on and so on. It was more of a choke vibe, the way he was describing the market space and so on, rather being too aggressive. And he's still saying that we're working towards that 2% inflation target, that magical number they're headed towards. So all in all, it was good. Jerome Powell's speech, market reacted in a positive way. However, there's always an however. The however part is that we also have a actual Fed meeting coming up on September 17th and 18th. That is when we're going to have a better idea of, are we actually going to have rate cuts or are we not? If we don't have rate cuts, they're just stretching numbers out. If we do have rate cuts, it's good, but the rate cuts can't be too aggressive. If we have aggressive rate cuts, then we could possibly hit a recession situation, which I don't think they want to do. So I think they're just going to be very, very chill type of situations, even around 16th, 17th September, when we do have the actual results come out of, are we going to have rate cuts? It's going to be 50 basis points or less, or it's going to be a similar speech. We're not going to get some drastic 75 basis points. We're going into voting season. It makes no sense to be going into a recession while we're going into voting season. I've been saying this for a while. And everybody was expecting Jerome Powell to come out and say, we're going into a recession, 75 basis points, and nope. In his words, we're still going pretty normal. We're still headed towards that 2% inflation target, and everything's good. But we still have the main meeting coming up 16, 17 September. So in general, the market has reacted in a positive way. Crypto's reacted in a positive way. Investors are getting more spendy with their money. More money is going to be entering the crypto markets until now and then. Now, another senior Fed executive makes a new remarks about Jerome Powell's speech. So Fed member Austin, he said that the cooling US job market should be closely monitored as inflation approaches the Fed's 2% target. Now, he was doing an interview with CNBC straight after. Now, he's also a senior Fed member, executive member, and he was also doing, he was at the Jerome Powell speech, and straight after he did a CNBC interview. So Fed member Austin, speaking at CNBC today, he noted that with inflation appearing more controlled, attention should now turn to the other half of the Fed's dual mandate employment. As Chairman Jerome Powell said, we want to be vigilant in the labor markets. We're not just fighting inflation right now, Austin said. He said inflation was showing signs of stabilizing, reducing the urgent need for further tightening. However, he declined to confirm whether he would support a rate cut at the upcoming September meeting, citing the importance of avoiding unnecessary tightening while the economy is not overheating. Austin noted that the many labor markets indicators are showing signs of cooling, but he said it's unclear whether these trends represent a return to a more normal condition or a potential weakening of the labor markets. We're getting warning signals from the labor markets, Austin said, citing concerns about defaults and rising in unemployment rates. Austin also said that he was confident that the Fed's rate cuts forecast could come true, given that inflation has been declining while policy remains relatively tight. He noted that the current interest rates were set at a time when inflation was significantly higher, and adjustments may be necessary. So, two perspectives, one from Jerome Powell, the man himself, regarding how the market's going to be playing out, and another perspective from a senior Fed executive straight after Jerome Powell's speech in a CNBC interview. His perspectives are also on the same lines. We're not going to be going into a recession in any sort of a way. The word recession has now been pushed out the window. It's not going to be happening for now. After voting, after presidency, you never know. But for now, during voting time, we're not going to go into recession. Even he mentioned it, regarding Austin, the senior Fed executive member. No recession so far. We're still headed towards that 2% target. And when he was asked, are we going to get rate cuts? He didn't want to respond to it on the lines of no drastic rate cuts. So if we do get a rate cut, it's going to be a very small, minuscule rate cut. Nowhere near the 75 basis point urgent needed. So, which means the markets can be positive even, from now until 16, 17 September, based on his words as well. And he's also a senior executive Fed member as well. So based on his words, based on Jerome Powell's words, we're not going into a recession. The market is going to stay healthy. We're headed towards that 2% target. There's no reason for anybody to be scared of sudden downturns, unless the market is hacked or extreme manipulation. But if you're relying on the Fed, essentially bullet points, they're good. There's nothing bad that's just came out right now regarding Jerome Powell or the other member that did a CNBC interview straight after. They're both good points. Headed towards that 2% target, no recession on the way. So the market should react in a positive way, carrying on from now until 16, 17 September. There shouldn't be any sort of downturns on the market, unless manipulation hits the market. But it's good that, they stopped using the word recession, because it was never going to happen anyways. Not now. Later on, sure, but not now. Voting time. So, moving on from that massive positive news to the next news on tonight's live show, which is pro-Bitcoin candidate RF Kennedy Jr. endorses Trump for presidency. Massive news. Honestly, massive news. He never had a chance of winning, but he did do an interview. RF Kennedy Jr. did an interview, and in his interview, he said that there used to be a time where the Democratic Party was about, freedom of speech and freedom of something, something, so on. And he's saying basically now the Democratic Party is just an illusion of freedom of speech, an illusion of freedom of everything. So he saw that the Republican Party or Trump on what they're trying to achieve is the better option for him to be endorsing. And that they're both pro-cryptocurrency candidates as well. They both don't want to live in a CBDC world. So it makes sense for him to be endorsing Donald Trump. And he also said, if we lived in a time where the presidential election was a fair play, then I could have had a chance, is what he said. Now, some might argue that he would have never got the votes, even if it was a fair play. And some could also argue that, we kind of understand that everything is rigged and there's a reason why you're number 3 or number 1 or 2. But anyway, he is endorsing Donald Trump, which is a massive positive play. The crypto market is reacting in a much more positive way now towards Donald Trump as well. They were in the, even before the crypto space was still behind Donald Trump, but now they're even more behind Donald Trump because there was a lot of people inside the crypto space who actually liked Kennedy and they were voting. They were going to be voting for Kennedy. They wanted him to become president. But now knowing that, their favorite person that they were voting for to become president is endorsing Donald Trump, he's obviously behind Donald. Now, these voters are going to be backing Donald Trump as well. So massive to see, honestly. And that's why, again, the crypto markets are reacting in a positive way because now you have 2 pro-crypto candidates on one team. And then on the other team, you have Sleepy Joe and Goldfish Kamala. If you're wondering why am I calling Kamala Goldfish, it's because she shares the exact same brain cells as goldfish, in the most simplest way to put it. So you have 2 crypto candidates on one side for the next presidents. You have 2 crypto candidates on one side. And on the other side, you have Sleepy Joe and Goldfish Kamala. Now, before we go through that news, let's go inside the comment section first, because it is a positive news. By the way, this is a live show, which means if you have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more happy to help you out. Also, people are coming into the live show and they're wondering, why does it say episode 127 outside of the live show on X? And why does it say episode 137 on, when they enter the live show? Is because the correct one is 137, not 127. So this is episode 137. It's just the title won't change on X. There's a problem, there's a bug in the system. Let's go inside the comment section first before we go to the next news. Stormy, good to see you as well. How you doing? Glenda, good to see you as well. How you doing? Do you think they manipulate the data? 100%. Regarding the feds, do I think the feds are manipulating the data? Yes. Any data can be manipulated and stretched for a certain period of time. At one point, it turns into a massive bubble that is going to be burst somewhere down the road. But yes, they can stretch the data out, make something negative look positive. And the easiest example I've always given is Moody's. So Moody's is a rating agency for Wall Street, basically, for Wall Street heads and banks in general for the United States. Back in 2008, before we had that major crash, they went to Moody's and they said, do us a rating and say how the market's doing. Moody's lied on purpose and said the banking system is doing good and the market is doing good, Wall Street's doing good. And in 2008, we had a massive crash. Because everybody went off of Moody's ratings, Moody's saying everything is great, so we're gonna, jump inside the market space, and everything just went belly side up. So yes, they can manipulate it, and the reason why Moody's also did it as well, Moody's was never looked into, because Moody's said if we don't give out the ratings, somebody else will. So they knew they were giving out manipulated ratings to stretch the outcome, because they can only stretch the outcome because the bubble was just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger before it burst. But yes, they can manipulate data to stretch the outcome. Just looking on CoinMove, you have a referral program. Yes, I do. The only thing that's going to be 2% is the sun coming up at 2%. Is this the pump before the dump? Yes and no. I'm going in the middle, 35% rate cuts, 35% rate cuts. Okay. Anybody else got a perspective on what the rate cuts could be? Is it going to be 25 basis points? Is it going to be 75 basis points? Is what some people were predicting. If anybody else got any sort of perspectives on it, Orphan is staying at 35% rate cuts. Hello, Miles and CMF listening. Let's go, Mav. How you doing? Because the actual rate cut scenario is going to be coming out 16th, 17th September. Messi, good to see you. So how you doing? Cali, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? I trust this pump. Let's go, Messi. There will have to be a fallout from this surely early next year recession. Maybe yes, I would say. The bubble's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger if they don't, if they keep on stretching it. The bigger the bubble, the bigger the drop. If Trump is, unless they move to a new financial system, if Trump is anti-CBDC and he gets elected, that will be bad for Ripple XRP? No, because it's just one big show. So, with Trump, it will be much more loose, but we're still going to go to CBDCs. With, Sleepy Joe and Kamala Harris, we're going to go straight into CBDCs, and it's going to be very tight regulations starting right off the bat. So right off the start, if it's, if these are two possible scenarios of who's going to become president, okay? If Kamala Harris becomes president, then she's very pro CBDC. We're going to go straight away to CBDCs. We're going to go straight away to CBDCs and tightening crypto regulations. On the other hand, if we go for, if Trump becomes president, then we're going to still going to CBDCs, no matter what, whoever the president is, we're still going to go into CBDCs. You can't get away from CBDCs. It's the Bank of it. If you try to go against CBDCs, you're going against the Bank of International Settlements, the World Economic Forum, and the International Monetary Fund, and they will all pummel, essentially flatten Trump if they have to. And you've seen what they're capable of. So we're still going to go to CBDCs, even if Trump is essentially elected. But it's going to be a bit more loose on the regulations and very loose on the crypto regulations and so on. And everybody will have a better life under Trump. The economy will be better and so on and so on. Because Trump will take it step by step, whereas Kamala will just try to ram it down everybody's throats. There's two different approaches. Trump or Kamala, either one, we're still going into CBDCs. But one will try to take you step by step through it, Trump. The other one, Kamala Harris, will just try to ram it down your throat regarding CBDCs. Hello, Miles and CMF. What up? What's your thoughts on SHX? Carol, SHX, good project. It's a good project to look into, definitely. On XLM's network, no? I had a goldfish who was 10 and died the other week. Was still smarter than Kamala. RIP Brian the fish. P Brian the fish. Let's go. And Carol, let's go. How you doing? 25 max SM 500 is ultra. They will start with 25 basis cuts. Hi, Miles of CMF. George, good to see you. So how you doing? Slowly blend the rate. Slowly blend the rate cuts in and build the momentum towards the election date. That's what I would say as well. They're just going to stretch out the data as far as they can. Just stretch out the data. Capital gains on unrealized gains, the total amount, please explain. Absolute knowledge, how you doing? Good to see you. The capital gains only applies to essentially if it's $1 million or over. So it doesn't apply to the retail section. The majority of the retail section don't have $100,000 in their bank account. So it only applies to $1 million over, the unrealized gains. I'm so looking forward to 8:49 a.m. tomorrow morning for Ripple to £12 free. Let's go, JP. Thank you, Miles. No problem, Carl. Now, pro-Bitcoin candidate RF Kennedy Jr. endorses Trump for presidency, which is massively positive. Mike, 25%. You think it's 25%? I think that's what it's going to be. They're going to stretch it and stretch it and stretch it towards the presidency regarding rate cuts. They're not going to cause a recession while we're going into a presidency, because then it makes Kamala and Sleepy Joe look bad. So we can't go into a recession, during a presidency voting. But after, we can. Because it's done, it's finished, the president has been chosen, and now we're into a recession. Because for a fact, if we go into a recession, everybody's going to blame Sleepy Joe and Kamala, which they should do, because they were in control. And people say you can't control inflation. Inflation just happens. Everything can be controlled. If anybody is out there and actually genuinely thinks you can't control inflation, presidents can't control, because a lot of people out there that say, inflation is bad inside the United States and so on. Just to put in the basics, a lot of people say inflation is crazy inside the United States and you can't blame Kamala Harris for inflation. she's only the VP. You can't blame, Joe Biden for inflation. He went through, when he was chosen, we were already inflation. No, you can blame them. You can blame Kamala Harris for inflation. You can also blame Sleepy Joe for inflation as well, because that war that they started with Russia, unnecessary war that they started with Russia, caused quite a lot of inflation, actually, to put into perspective. They decided to defend Ukraine because Ukraine has a lot of oil and gas. If a lot of people didn't know that, now you know. Ukraine has a lot of gas, too much gas to be perspective. To give you a better perspective, they have too much gas is what Ukraine has. So the United States and the UK and a few other countries decided to, poke the bear when it comes to Russia with Putin, and then, defend Ukraine, which caused a massive inflation on prices, which meant everything went up skyrocketing because a lot of things actually come from Russia, especially oil, for example, that the petrol and diesel that you put inside your vehicles, that you one day woke up and the prices were skyrocketing. Yes, they blamed that on Putin, but instead they should have blamed that on themselves because they got too greedy and they wanted a piece of the pie of Ukraine's gas. So for any moron, because I've seen so many people doing interviews with CNBC, CNN, and they go, you can't blame Kamala Harris for inflation. You can't blame Joe Biden. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because both of these people started random wars on purpose to cause inflation. Because they were too greedy. They didn't want to let go of Ukraine's gas. So yes, you can. You can blame Kamala Harris for every bad thing that's happened inside the United States since Sleepy Joe and since she became VP. You can blame every bad thing that's happened inside the United States because of her and Sleepy Joe. When you start a war with a country that's supplying most of your oil, what do you think happens to the prices? Does it go down? No, it goes skyrocketing up. So for you to say, because the amount of morons that are on CNBC and CNN, if you've seen these interviews, they go, well, you can't blame Kamala Harris for inflation. Yes, you can. You can also blame Sleepy Joe and the whole Biden administration. Honestly, a lot of people think, inflation doesn't relate to presidencies. Inflation doesn't, relate to what the leader of the country does. Whatever the leader of the country does impacts the entire country. It can impact the prices on drastic levels. And then you have the Fed printing left, right, and center to support random other countries. But the best part is when they interview Kamala Harris followers, the people that are going to vote for Kamala Harris, when they interview them, they go, so why are you voting for Kamala Harris? And they always go, oh, because, she's a woman. And then they say, oh, okay, well, what's her best policy? And they go, yeah, I don't know. I mean, what can you say to that? These people should not be allowed to vote. Forget about immigrants not being allowed to vote, because a lot of people like immigrants shouldn't be able to vote and so on. Forget about that. If you don't know the policies of the candidate you're voting, you should not be able to vote. How about this? From now on, let's do a test. Before you can vote, you have to pass a test for you to have an understanding of what the policies are. You pass the test, you can vote. You don't pass the test, don't go anywhere near voting. Honestly, we should do a brain cell test before you get to vote. People are just voting for other people because of their gender or skin color. It's the dumbest thing ever. Absolutely dumbest thing ever. You're voting for the person to lead you into a better life. And you don't know what their policies are. You're just voting because she's a woman. You shouldn't vote for somebody because it's a man. You shouldn't vote for somebody because it's a woman. You shouldn't vote for somebody because of their, skin color or whatever. You should vote on that person for what they're going to achieve. But, we don't live in a world with common sense and brain cells. We live in a world with la-la land people. Now, pro-Bitcoin candidate RF Kennedy Jr. endorses Trump for presidency. The sluggish crypto prices were on the receiving end of two positive catalysts on Friday. First, the US Presidential Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell confirmed the monetary easing cycle beginning the next month. And then as the crypto-friendly RF Kennedy Jr. threw his support behind the also crypto-friendly GOP standard Donald Trump as the presidential candidate. Already higher by about 3% on the Fed news, Bitcoin's price rose further following the Kennedy announcement, trading at $63,800 at press time, or up 5.6% over the past 24 hours. The broader CoinDesk 20 index was up 4.7% over the same time frame, with Ethereum, Tezos, and Solana among the tokens posting 5% or more gains. Because of these two news: one, RF Kennedy Jr. endorsing Trump; two, Jerome Powell's speech was kind of in between. And Kennedy, a strong advocate for cryptocurrency, expressed that his endorsements of Trump is influenced by the former president's recent positive stance on digital currencies. Both Kennedy and Trump have shown support for the crypto industry, signaling a favorable environment for digital assets. Kennedy revealed that he had met with Trump and his aides multiple times. During his discussions, he found common ground with Trump on several major issues, including broader security, free speech, and ending ongoing conflicts. Despite these areas of agreements, Kennedy acknowledged that there remains significant difference in the approaches to other issues. As a part of his endorsement, Kennedy announced that he would withdraw his name from the ballot in the 10 key battleground states that are crucial to the election outcome. However, he plans to continue his candidacy in other states where his presence may still impact the race. Even with Kennedy exiting and endorsing Trump, the presidential race still appears to be 50-50 contest, but the conventional thinking at the moment suggests that the removal of Kennedy from the ballot in the so-called battleground states will also benefit GOP candidates. Both Trump and Kennedy have promised a far more friendly attitude towards Bitcoin and crypto that has been exhibited by the Biden administration, with Trump suggesting that US create a Bitcoin street reserve and promising the immediate firing of the SEC chairman, Gary Gensler. The Harris campaign has apparently taken notice. A senior Harris advisor earlier this week said a Harris administration would be supportive of the growth of crypto industries, which is all lies. Don't believe anything that comes out of Kamala Harris's mouth. It's all lies. Also, do you want to know the funniest part about the Kamala Harris campaign? Here is the funniest part about Kamala. What's one of Kamala Harris's policies? One of Kamala Harris's policies is tax the rich, correct? Okay, at the DNC event where everybody was invited and they were inviting celebrities and people were crying, laughing, singing. They were all weird people, laughing, crying, and singing. And then, some random celebrities came up on stage and so on. But there was an interview that was done at that moment in time where it was a CNN interview, ironically, where they were talking about that how much money has been spent at this event to be endorsing Kamala Harris. So here is some interesting figure points. The guy was pointing at the people on top. So the stage goes in essentially levels. So you have level 1, level 2, level 3. And level 3 is pretty much at the top. And you're pretty much paying for a VIP suite about $500,000, $1 million and above. Now, all of the VIP suites were full of major institutional players. Major institutional players were looking down on the retail section because the retail section, one, can't afford $500,000 seats or $1 million seats, and two, they were sold out pretty much. The entire top row section of $1 million VIP suites was sold out by major institutions. The second row was also major institutions, and the third row was some small-time business owners, and the bottom section was the retail section. So Kamala Harris's policy is what? Tax the rich. The same rich people that were sitting in the VIP seats and looking down on the retail section. Yeah, so sure, she's going to be taxing the rich. Those rich people she's apparently going to be taxing are the exact ones funding her entire campaign. And let's, for example, assume she becomes president. Do you think she's going to go against the people that endorsed her to become president? You must be living in La La Land if you even assume for a second that she's going to go to presidency and say, yes, I'm going to be taxing the rich, the same people that got me to this chair, because we live in that world, apparently. I've told everyone this, and I'll tell everyone again. It's the same policy every 4 years. Every 4 years, you know, and I don't know why it's always the Democratic Party. Why is it always the Democratic Party? That every 4 years they come out and say, we're going to be taxing the rich. Hillary Clinton said, when Hillary Clinton was going up against Donald Trump, what was her policy? Taxing the rich. And what did Donald Trump obviously point out? When Hillary Clinton said to Donald Trump, you don't pay your taxes. And Donald Trump said, let me answer that question. The reason why I don't pay my taxes is because you left loopholes for your contributors to avoid taxes. So obviously, I'm also going to be avoiding taxes through that loophole. Anyone would avoid taxes if they could in a very legal manner. It's just common sense. Nobody likes paying taxes. So if you can find a genuine loophole within the law, of course you're going to use it. But here's the funny part. Hillary Clinton, we're going to be taxing the rich. But why do you endorse loopholes? So honestly, one, everything that comes out of a politician's mouth is complete lies. And two, every 4 years, it's the same policies. We're taxing the rich. We're taxing the rich. And everybody goes, yay, in the retail section, they're taxing the rich. But you're a moron. It's the same policy every 4 years, and it's never going to change. And they're never going to tax the rich. The rich are the ones controlling the politicians. Somebody once, a long time ago, said, do you know what's good? If we could get politicians to wear sport jackets so we can see who's sponsoring them. Politicians, some politicians, have more sponsors than Formula One drivers. Honestly, that's not even a joke. Some politicians have more sponsorships than a Formula One driver. But yes, the same policy every 4 years. We're going to tax the rich. Nobody's going to tax the rich. The rich control the politicians. Not every rich person, some. Some rich people don't even care about politics. They're just sitting in their yacht, drinking their champagne and couldn't care less. Some rich people like the idea of being able to essentially, play the world like it's a chess game. Carol, thank you, Miles. No problem, anytime. Let's see where we were. Inside the comment section, Kamala and the media said nothing is wrong with the 3.5 years. Now they say we fix everything. Yeah, pretty much. They did absolutely nothing. Even Miles, the CMF and plus JP. Let's go, Ronnie. Absolute knowledge. Thank you. No problem, anytime. Totally agree with you. The whole Biden administration made this mess and they're so corrupt. If money can be their place, inflate it. I heard Goldfish talk so much BS on this scenario, how she will put a stop to the war. Female has not done anything for the last. They're never going to either way. That's out of the question. That war is going to continue. Sanctions equals inflation. Pretty much. Sanctions always equal inflation. Because when you sanction one country, you're not going to be able to access their resources, which is benefiting your country, which means whatever you do have already left in your country, price skyrockets. If money can be inflated, saving it is the worst financial decision you will ever make. Yes, pretty much. Dunkau is only reading out loud what's on paper, only saying things what people want to hear. Pretty much. Kamala Harris was the PD parties. I don't understand how inflation is getting better. Gas prices is high, food is high. I see people buying less quality food just to save, and that's not good for health because it isn't. Inflation is not getting better at all. Not even a 1% is getting better. But obviously they're going to be stretching the numbers out and telling you inflation is getting better. One, they can't mention, we're going into a recession. The news can mention as much as they want. We're going into a recession. But the news is only there to put people into panic mode. In reality, we can't go into a recession. One, being that we're going into, essentially a political presidency situation. Who's going to become the next president? Which means if we go to a recession, Sleepy Joe and Kamala look very bad. So they can't have that happen. So we can't go into a recession. Two, they're going to stretch the numbers out as much as they can. Three, they're going to keep on lying to you and saying inflation is getting better, even though essentially gas is still up, electrics is still up, house rent is still up, house mortgage is still up, food prices are still up. everything is still up, but inflation is getting better somehow. And they're just going to lie to you and stretch the numbers until this presidency is over, and this bubble is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and at one point it's just going to burst. Or they're going to move to a new financial system. So it's not getting better, they're just telling you it's getting better. It's like someone reassuring you and putting their hand on your shoulder and going, don't worry, everything will get better. But in reality, it never does. That's what inflation is, basically. Well, the situation that we're going on right now, Jerome Powell keeps on tapping you on the shoulder and keeps on going, don't worry, everything will get better. But in reality, it never does. It just gets worse. And it's going to get worse. The rich are the ones that keeps our world going around. They are the ones who build it, buy things, create businesses, create jobs. Facts. Tax businesses, and they move out of the country, lay off employees, and their customers end up paying more. Facts. Poor people don't create jobs, also facts. But buy things or build things, we need the rich people, also facts. Hence why they'll never reach the tax. I think Harris will jam it down our throats too, but also doing whatever Obama tells her to do in the background. Yeah, she is taking orders from Obama. Kamala Harris is taking orders from Obama. She's taken orders from quite a few institutions, the World Economic Forum, the Bank of International Settlements. I'll also share a segment from the World Economic Forum on the Telegram group of this live show. By the way, if you haven't joined, join it. It's completely free and great place to be in. Everybody's very respectful as well. But I'll share a segment from the World Economic Forum regarding a certain act that the World Economic Forum has basically started a very long time ago. They started a certain act where a lot of politicians and CEOs and executive board members are under, and pretty much everything that's announced from the World Economic Forum, these people have to pretty much say yes, sir, to the World Economic Forum. And some politicians are not on that list, and some are. And some executives and board members are on the list and some aren't, but you can tell who's being controlled by the World Economic Forum and pretty much who isn't, and then you can also tell that, you know, where they're going to place these people. But I'm going to share that video inside a Telegram group of this live show as well. I've saved it. I'll share it to everyone. Let's see where we are inside the comment section. Miles, I think you've converted my brain. I always think differently about things I hear on the news. Miles, I think you converted my brain. Always think differently about what I hear on the news. That's good. You should always take the news with a pinch of salt and always think there's a bigger story behind it. The story they're telling you is never the full story. They're never going to tell you the full story. But you can sometimes, you know, just by reading a few PDF documentations, you can always tell what the full story is. Okay, now going on to the next news on tonight's live show and putting the Sleepy Joe situation on the side. Court denies Kraken's motion to dismiss SEC lawsuit. So, as we all know, Gary Gensler and the SEC have been wasting everybody's time and abusing taxpayers' dollars by suing random crypto platforms. Now, the Ripple situation, you know, there is the 50-50 scenario there that the Ripple scenario was planned and had to happen, and I've talked about that before as well. However, the other scenarios regarding Kraken Exchange and Coinbase Exchange and so on, Kraken Exchange decided to essentially dismiss their lawsuit against the SEC. The judge denied it. Court denies Kraken's motion to dismiss SEC lawsuit. The United States Federal Court denied crypto exchange Kraken motion to dismiss a securities exchange SEC lawsuit alleging Kraken is operating in unregistered securities, according to their court filings. Now, this makes it difficult for a few crypto projects. So in the Kraken case and the Coinbase case, they've actually listed, the SEC has listed what crypto projects are securities. Obviously, they haven't listed XRP because that case is done and dusted. And the crypto projects they've listed is File, Solano, Mana. It's quite a list of crypto projects. I'll put it inside a Telegram group as well. But they've listed quite a few crypto projects that they assume, from the SEC's perspective, are securities in the Kraken case and Binance case. So In November, the SEC charged Kraken with operating with Kraken's crypto trading platform as unregistered security brokerage, broker, dealer, and clearing agency. The SEC has plausibly alleged that at least some of the cryptocurrency transactions that Kraken facilitates on its network constitutes as investment contracts and therefore securities, and are accordingly subject to security laws, according to an opinion of the U.S. District Court in Northern California. Now, also on that perspective, that could be a reason why Solana ETF wasn't even looked into. So, for anybody that doesn't know this, here's a quick thing. Solana ETFs were actually found in by ARK Invest and 21 Shares, which got straight away, didn't even get looked into. So they withdrew their filings. The reason why Solana ETFs were not accepted is because the SEC didn't even bother looking at the filings, and they just withdrew their filings. The companies that applied for Solana ETFs inside the United States just withdrew their filings because they realized the SEC, in their own words, didn't even acknowledge the Solana ETF applications, which makes it even worse. Because if they acknowledged it, they could have at least rejected it or said, maybe do this, do that for an acceptance. They didn't even acknowledge the Solana ETF applications. Now, the reason for that could be also these two pending cases with the SEC, with Coinbase and Kraken, because according to the SEC, Solana is also a security in the Coinbase case. And I think it's the Kraken case of Solana as well, but it is in the Coinbase case, Solana is technically a security. So that could be the reason why the SEC didn't even acknowledge the Solana ETF applications, and that's why the filings were withdrawn. So the ruling is set back in the industry's ongoing tussle with the SEC to define which cryptocurrencies, if any, qualify as securities under US law, and therefore fall under the SEC's jurisdiction. Coinbase is embroiled in the same battle with the SEC over whether its virtual asset staking products constitute as unlawful security offerings. In August, the SEC reportedly rejected an application from the Securities and Exchange Cboe Global Markets to list Solana ETFs on the grounds that Solana is a security. According to the SEC's complaint, Kraken's alleged failure to register these functions has deprived investors of significant protections, including inspection by the SEC, record-keeping requirements, and safeguarding against conflicts of interest, among others. The 23rd August ruling assaults an expensive definition of what constitutes a security by looking not only at any formal investment contract, but also at the broader context around which is the instrument. In this case, virtual assets were marketed and sold. Now, formularities are not required for something to qualify as an investment contract and therefore a security. The court said what counts is the totality of the circumstances surrounding the sale, trade, or exchange and the expectations of the investors. To deny the motion to dismiss this suit, the court only had to conclude the SEC's claims are plausible. A final ruling has yet to be made. And just to also point something else out as well regarding this whole case scenario: Kraken, SEC, Coinbase, SEC, few crypto projects. Essentially, I can see your message. T, my messages are not showing. Nope, your message is showing. I think maybe some of them wasn't showing, but this one's showing. It says my message is not showing. I can read that. But regarding the Coinbase case, SEC case, Kraken case, and so on, one other thing to mention as well is that if, leading back to the whole presidency scenario, if Kamala Harris, by who knows what odds, wins this type of presidency, then every crypto project is going to be heavily vetted before they get any sort of green light. The same way SEC had to battle their way, Ripple had to battle their way to some sort of resolution, is the same thing that's probably going to happen to a lot of crypto projects if Kamala wins this race. If Kamala wins this race, then more scrutiny is pretty much on the way. And, the cases that are still going on with Coinbase and Kraken will probably continue if Kamala wins this race, which means a lot of crypto projects, or a few handful crypto projects, the ones that mostly are going to be going for an ETF, are going to be scrutinized before they get vetted by the SEC, which means they could also go through the battle that Ripple went through as well. Probably not the same length, much more less, but a few 1 year battle at least before we get some sort of recognition, or a 6-month battle. But if Kamala wins this race, scrutiny will continue. before these crypto projects get vetted. If they want an ETF, if they want to be, used by institutions, which they do. A lot of people inside the crypto space say, no, institutions are bad. No, institutions, they have all the money. Institutions have all the money. Retail doesn't have money. Even if it does, it's scattered. It's not, it's not coordinated to one particular crypto project or 10 crypto projects. The retail section is everywhere inside the crypto space. They're all either in meme coins or AI, data, and so on and so on and so on. But institutional money is very coordinated, and you know where it's going to go towards based on the contracts of crypto projects. And how do you know that? It's basically, as I've said before, if you want to know you have a successful crypto projects in your hands, easy to tell if you have a successful crypto project. What is it building? Who is it building with? Who is the contracts? Who is it building with? Is it going to be in 5 years' time? That's all that matters. 5 years, 10 years' time. What is it building? Who is it building with? And is it going to be here in 5 years' time? If it's contracted out to IBM, it's got a bright future of itself. If it's contracted to nobody and it's just promising random dreams, this crypto project's promising random dreams, we're doing tokenizations, we're doing this, they're doing nothing. If they got no major contracts in play, they're doing absolutely nothing. The retail section can only push a crypto project up to a certain price. A lot of people need to realize this point. The retail section can only push a certain crypto project up to a certain price. After that, they need that push. They need some sort of partnership push, a contract push, an institutional push. If that never comes through, the retail section starts losing interest and starts dispersing their money into other crypto projects. Because they'll just hit a ceiling. When you hit that glass ceiling regarding retail money, that's the worst thing, because a lot of crypto projects, they actually could be genuinely good crypto projects. Retail money comes flowing in, and then suddenly the retail money is just hitting a glass ceiling. And it's never going to be able to pass through this glass ceiling until it gets the next push. Next push has to be some sort of major contract, or it has to be some sort of institutional money to push it up. If that money never comes, or that contract never comes, it will never go through the glass, which means the retail section will start taking their money out and going to other crypto projects. So institutional money is needed to advance and obviously fill our pockets with more money. Now, this happened with a crypto project by the name of CAS as well. CAS is a great crypto project, but there's only retail money inside of it, which is bad. Solana used to be a VC crypto project. Now, putting all that to one side, crypto advocates file for a brief against the SEC investor tracking database. So on one side, you have Gary Gensler, essentially, and the SEC suing Kraken and Coinbase and so on. On the other side, you have Gary Gensler being sued directly and the SEC. The DeFi Education Fund and the Blockchain Association jointly filed a brief in a case brought by two individuals in the new Civil Liberties Alliance, NCLA, against the United States Securities Exchange Commission, SEC. It's a chairman, Gary Gensler. And the Consolidated Audit Trail, CAT, the compliant, does not mention cryptocurrencies or blockchain, but the organization argues that CAT could have profound negative effects on crypto users. The CAT is a database that was first proposed in 2010 and became operational in April. According to the website, the CAT tracks orders throughout their life cycle and identifies the brokers, dealers handling them, thus allowing the regulators to efficiently track activities and eligible securities throughout the US markets. A bad rule that's worse on blockchain. The SEC proposed the 203-page rule that created the CAT back in 2010 and passed it into 2012. The database is funded by its participants, the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, and the 26 National Securities Exchanges. The CAT soon provoked concerns about privacy and the government overreach. The NCLA said the class action complaint against the SEC's shocking of power to impose dystopian surveillance, suspicionless seizures, and real or potential searches on millions of investors and essentially inside the United States. Apparently, the SEC and Gary Gensler were trying to spy on crypto investors in some odd ways and maneuvers, which now they're being sued for. The NCLA filed its suit in April. The case has attracted over 50 case briefs. The DeFi Education Fund and the Blockchain Association said in their briefs that the database exposed more information about investors using blockchain than it was designed to. Due to the transparent nature of public blockchains, it explained the CAT connects personally identifying information with wallet addresses that reveal blockchain-based user transactions. Thus, anyone with access to the CAT, this platform, would be able to see not just a person's security transactions, but all of that person's blockchain transactions in the past, present, and the future. CAT database participants source consolidated audit trail. So, Gary Gensler was doing some spying business inside the crypto space, where using the CAT platform, essentially being able to find out everybody's transactions. Now, it is public transactions, of course, but being able to rummage it down to one particular person, if you're looking for someone, they can, shorten down the list of who this person is, what transactions is he doing right now, and what future transactions they're able to process as well. And this is going against, that whole privacy issue. The CAT has also criticized as a security risk is a honeypot for hackers and freely accessible by thousands of the SEC and employee members. However, as the Securities Industry and Financial Markets Association trade group stated, the lack of public access to the database means that the SEC violated the Administrative Procedure Act if it were to use the database for rulemaking. So apparently the SEC is using this. For now, they haven't been able to put it down as are they using it in their cases to track down people, but apparently they have access to it. Knowing Gary Gensler, 100% he's using it, and I think they can pinpoint it to where he's used it about. But the database means that the SEC violated the Administration Producer Act if they were to use the database for rulemaking, as all data used for that purpose has to be publicly accessible. However, it's not. It's only the SEC has hands to it. The CAT is also being challenged in another court by the Seattle Securities and the trade group American Securities Association. The NCLA was also instrumental in bringing the case to the Supreme Court that led to the overturning of the Chevron defense. So, apparently, it seems like Gary Gensler has his hands on a special tool where he's going to be able to, well, he's been using it for a while, the SEC members and Gary Gensler, where he's being essentially using it to track people's wallets. Now, again, it is public database, and if you're doing transactions on blockchain, it's all public, but they don't know who is who up until you spend that money. If you're just doing transfers wallet to wallet, if you do a transfer to an exchange from your wallet, then obviously they can track it's you because you transferred to an exchange, and exchange has to share information with government entities to be able to operate within that jurisdiction. But if you're just doing wallet to wallet to wallet to wallet transactions and you're never spending or sending to an exchange, then it's very difficult to find out who that money belongs to. So Gary Gensler, with his CAT tool, he's been able to find out quite a lot of information about everybody, which means it goes against privacy, major privacy issues. And Gary Gensler is being sued for that right now. Not good for his next campaign of him becoming a US Treasury. Imagine that. The person that's going to become a US Treasury is the same man that's been spying on people. Now, Tether's CEO is the next news we're going to go from tonight's live show. By the way, that is major news that's coming out. Gary Gensler getting sued for privacy issues. I did say hello over an hour ago to you. Ronnie, I said hi. Ronnie, I remember you said hi to the CMF, and you also said hi to JP. I said hi. I remember what your first comment was as well. You said hi, Miles, and CMF plus JP. You put a plus sign, you put JP as well. Hi, Ronnie. But I remember I said hi. I read your comment as well. You probably didn't hear me. I have a good memory. I have to have a good memory. That's why I never forget things. Let's see what we said in the comment section first. Before we go for the next news, which is regarding Tether's CEO, let's go inside the comment section first. My message on show. They're showing, Scott, good to see you as well. How you doing? Poor people use money to pay bills. Middle class people use money to pay bills. Clever people use money as they do not pay tax, which is true. Sorry for being late, Scott. No problem. Good to see you. In the mid-time, Brazil is launching Solana ETFs and the US doesn't have clarity, which is true. Brazil has launched 2 Solana ETFs so far, while as Gary Gensler is once again wasting everybody's time. Now, Tether CEO. Is Tether going to launch their own blockchain? Has Tether ever thought about launching their own blockchain? Well, you're about to hear the answer now. Tether CEO explains why Tether abandoned, essentially, launching their own blockchain. In a market where blockchain deployment has almost become a trend, Tether Holdings, the issuer of the world's largest stablecoin, USDT, has decided to go against this trend. While many crypto companies are racing to create their own blockchains, Tether has abandoned this initiative, citing a crowded market and diminishing returns. According to Tether's CEO, the decision is driven by basic economics. The market is already saturated with blockchain platforms, and he said, "We are very good at technology, but I think blockchains will almost become a commodity in the future. It may not be the right move to start a blockchain ourselves. There are already very good blockchains," is what he said in an interview. Despite controlling USDT, a stablecoin with a market value of $117 billion and a widely used for trading and remittances, Tether has found a little incentive to create its own blockchain. Data supports this decision. According to DeFi Llama, the top 5 of the 306 currently active blockchains control around 86% of the total assets valued at TVL. Now, Ethereum alone leads the market with $87.7 billion of the total $133.2 billion TVL across all chains. Tron, launched by Justin Sun in 2017, has $8.1 billion TVL and accounts for about 49% of USDT supply also. Tether CEO also emphasized that Tether remains regarding which blockchain support USDT prioritizes security and sustainability rather than building its own platform. For us, blockchains are just transparent layers, he said, reinforcing the company's focus on existing solutions rather than adding another layer to an already saturated market. In an industry where new blockchains emerge regularly, Tether's decision to focus on its core mission while leveraging existing infrastructure highlights the company's strategic approach to navigating a crowded space. So, regarding also Tether's CEO, what he said is, as much as Tether is not a transparent project and so on, this was a valid point that he made regarding, there are too many blockchains and there's no need to add another one to the list. It also goes back to the whole question that a lot of people ask as well. A lot of people say, why don't banks just create their own blockchain? Why don't banks just create their own blockchain? Why would they need to use Ripple or the XRP ledger? They can just create their own blockchain. Yes, they can create their own blockchain, but what's the point? Because there are already too many blockchains, and according to Tether's CEO, the market is oversaturated with too many blockchains, which is true. So there's no point. You can already have access. If you already have access to a blockchain that you can develop on, it's free to use, then why create your own blockchain? It's a fair point that he's making. The man might be full of BS when it comes to transparency of USDT, but for once in his life, he made a valid point. Now, the next news talk about tonight's live show is regarding Binance. Even though Binance is having issues right now in Nigeria with one of their employees stuck in Nigerian prison for no apparent reason, Binance is still going to be launching a new mobile money feature for crypto transactions in Africa, which is actually quite big. I mean, look, Africa is becoming a definite hub for cryptocurrencies, for blockchain technology, AI especially. Africa is definitely becoming a hub. The entire continent is becoming a hub. A lot of companies and a lot of governments are investing money into Africa right now for AI technology and Web3 based. So, crypto exchange Binance has launched its one-click buy and sell OCBS service in Africa, enabling users in Ghana, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia to buy and sell cryptocurrencies via mobile money accounts. This initiative aims to enhance financial inclusion, particularly for the unbanked and underbanked populations. Binance expands services in Africa, boosting crypto accessibility. Cryptocurrency exchange Binance announced the launch of their new payment system, essentially. One-click buy and sell OCBS feature in Africa last week, expanding to its services regarding Ghana, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zambia. Binance tweeted, With the launch of our OCBS feature, users can now easily purchase crypto assets and sell assets directly with their mobile phones regarding their own accounts. The integration of mobile money into our global fiat and on-ramp and off-ramp offerings, developed in partnerships with TransFi, marks a significant milestone in our efforts to simplify and broaden access to digital assets, Binance detailed. The crypto platform emphasizes commitment to security and implementing strict know your customers KYC protocols and other proactive measures to safeguard users' assets and comply with regulatory standards. This initiative is particularly aimed at increasing financial inclusion for the unbanked and underbanked populations in Africa, alleging with Binance's mission to increase financial freedom globally. The Global Crypto Exchange explained this expansion is a crucial step in our ongoing mission to democratize regarding access to cryptocurrencies and financial services. We believe that by integrating mobile money into our platform, we can support financial inclusion and allow more people to participate in the digital economy, which is massive news. Look, regarding Binance expanding their essentially reach into Africa, it is actually quite a large play. Africa is getting millions to hundreds of millions of dollars or even billion-dollar investments right now for essentially Web3 or AI technology. I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you have a startup of blockchain, if you have a startup blockchain company or a startup AI company, and you want some sort of fundings and you're finding it difficult to get fundings from VC companies in the Western side, VC companies in Africa right now are heavily funded with deep pockets and they're just looking for investments. So if you are, starting your own blockchain company or your own Web3 company or your own AI company and you're looking for fundings, VC fundings actually, venture capital fundings, there are multiple VC companies in Africa that are right now looking to essentially fund these types of projects. And you can expand over there in Africa. If you want to, it's a great opportunity. The best way to always make money is to have access, first-hand access to untapped market spaces. Untapped market spaces are the best way for you to make an incredible amount of profit because other market spaces are very oversaturated. The UK's market space is very oversaturated, and the EU's market space and the US market space, the US is very strict to do anything. But a lot of market spaces are quite oversaturated with this whole blockchain wave and so on. And even though it is really the beginning, how can you say it's oversaturated? But I'm saying is in Africa, they're just starting up and they have heavy, deep pockets. Google is investing into Africa regarding their AI ventures. So is Amazon, so is Microsoft. So are many government leaders also investing into it. But the list of companies is incredible. So if you are, thinking about starting your own blockchain company, your own Web3 company, AI company, gaming company in blockchain, or, whatever type of blockchain related company you're thinking about starting up, and you're looking for fundings, there are multiple, essentially, VC companies in Africa right now waiting to fund these types of projects. And they're much more easier to accept you. They're much more lenient to accept you compared to the Western ones. I've dealt with VC companies before, not in Africa, but I've dealt with VC companies in the US and the UK and the EU before. Some are extremely strict on the requirements, and some are, after about 20 doors that close on you, one door's open. But it's much more easier to get fundings from an entire continent that's waiting for these types of projects. So if you do have your own company and you are looking for investments and you're looking for VC money, there's an entire continent that's an untapped market space, and it's called Africa. Dubai is doing massive investments in Africa right now. Saudi Arabia is doing massive investments. China is doing massive investments. The EU is doing massive investments. Russia is doing investments right now in Africa as well. And it's all blockchain, Web3, AI related. So if you're looking for an untapped market space, there's an entire continent right there. And that's how you make a lot of money. The easiest way to make money is what? Have access to an untapped market space and to be the first one through the door. And there's an entire continent right there waiting for you. Now, before we go for the next news, which is related to Russia, moving away from Africa, now we're going into Russian news. Let's go in the comment section first. Miles, can you tell me how you feel about politicians? Tell you how I feel about politicians. They have no use case in society. Zero use case in society. Alex, good to see you. How you doing? I'm Azif Pavli. Politicians have no use case in society whatsoever. As I've said previously, doctors save lives, nurses help people, mechanics fix cars, teachers teach students, plumbers fix plumbings, electricians do the electrics. Everyone has some sort of a purpose. Every job on this planet has some sort of a purpose, except a politician. Politicians provide zero to help, benefit, and grow other people. They provide zero use case. Doctors help people, and engineers will help people, electricians help people, builders, contractors, and teachers, and the list just goes on of how many use cases there are for people actually helping to better this world. Politicians, nothing. They provide zero use case. Absolutely zero. All they do is lie and pretend that they're going to do something for 4 years, and then they take money from you and they raise the prices. They take money from you and raise the prices. That's all they do. Every single job on this planet has a purpose and a use case. It could be a doctor, it could be a teacher, it could be a mechanic, it could be a plumber, it could be an electrician, everyone, it could be a chef, it could be whatever. Every job category has some sort of a purpose, except a politician. They bring nothing to the table. Absolutely nothing to the table. And that's how I feel about politicians. Yeah, I'm assuming the services you're speaking about in Africa, you will need an ID card. Yep. China is hoping that the default on their loans so they can capitalize on their investments, which is true. Why hasn't John Deere, the tractor company, invested in Africa? Well, I think they're moving on from tractors. Trump and Kennedy are on a stage, you gather now. If a recession hits after election, that ends the bull run and the crypto tank? No, it will be a catalyst to a bull run afterwards. Blockchains in Africa is going to be huge. No, everyone has a bank account, but all of them have a phone. Facts. I was joking. If politicians solve your problems, why would you vote for them next year? Because we're stuck with them. The only reason we vote for politicians is because we're stuck with politicians. We're better off without them. 1,000,000% we're better off without politicians. And we have too many politicians, way too many politicians that do absolutely jack squat. I mean, we're in the UK and we already have too many. In the US, Jesus, every state has about 50 politicians that do nothing. In Canada, same scenario. Australia, same scenario. US, Australia, Japan, even Middle Eastern countries, I'll be honest. My country, Iran. I'm from Iran. I'm Persian originally. But, I live in the UK, in London. But Iran, the entire politicians, from the person in charge of Iran to the person below him, everyone's useless. Honestly, the entire political spectrum of the Iranian government, all of them are useless. Every single one of them need to be replaced. The entire government in Iran in general needs to be replaced. I mean, the Shah was 10 times better. The king of Iran was 1,000,000,000 times better than what these people are. But in general, we're stuck with politicians, so we have to vote for them either way. But no, politicians, they bring nothing to the table except greed. Everything that's wrong, genuinely, everything that's wrong with this world is because of politicians. Miles need to blame ancient Greece about politicians or Egypt law. Believe me, I know how you feel about them. I'm on the same page. DJT on stage with RFK Jr. AZ will release all JFK files. Let's go. In Africa, almost everyone has a mobile phone. Wallets is going to be easy to integrate onto blockchain. Facts, it definitely is regarding Africa. Honestly, the continent of Africa, amazing place to do some sort of investments. 1,000,000%. Now, moving on all that news. Going into Russian news, because Russia is about to do something interesting. Russia is essentially considering launching 2 crypto exchanges for stablecoin developments. Russia is set to launch 2 new crypto exchanges, one in St. Petersburg and another in Moscow, with a focus on stablecoin development. As sanctions continue to impact Russia's financial sector, the country is now planning to establish at least 2 domestic crypto exchanges. One with potentially utilizing the infrastructure of the St. Petersburg International Exchange, and the other set in Moscow. Though its exact framework remains undecided, Russia's newspaper reports citing sources familiar with the matter. The Moscow-based crypto exchange could either integrate with the Stock Moscow exchange or operate under a new experimental legal regime. It seems like Russia's traditional Wall Street type of scenario is about to go blockchain. Russia's stock exchange Moscow stock exchange is about to go towards blockchain, but they're going to be using stable coins. The primary goal for these exchanges, however, is not facilitate crypto trading, but rather to develop stable coins, including those pegged to the Chinese yuan and a basket of the BRICS currencies. Thus, so far, the cryptocurrency industry in Russia is regulated by the local bill on digital financial assets, which provides a framework for digital financial assets, but lacks a specific guideline for crypto exchanges. As a result, the new exchange will initially operate as a pilot under the experimental legal regime and an official set. Once approved, the exchanges are expected to launch with a limited user base before gradually expanding to include major exporters, importers, and affiliated business people familiar with the plans say. Russia advances crypto exchanges in regulatory talks. The establishment of crypto exchanges aligns with the ongoing discussions between Russia's finance ministry and the country's central bank. Finance Minister Anton confirmed that while the negotiations are progressing, no final decision has been made. The development follows a recent legislative move by the President Vladimir Putin, who signed a law in early August legalizing crypto minings in a bid to create a legal crypto framework for the issuance and circulations of cryptocurrencies. In July, it was reported that Russia lawmakers are exploring the introduction of gold-backed tokenized assets directly managed by the central bank as a solution for persistent cross-border payment challenges. Ongoing discussions involving senior officials and key banking figures indicate that Russia is exploring this approach as the means to provide businesses with a stable mechanism for international transactions. However, this initiative has not yet progressed to the development stage at a state level. So, Russia launching 2 crypto exchange. Russia essentially launching 2 exchanges. The 2 exchanges are actually going to be upgrading their traditional exchanges, one in St. Petersburg and another one in Moscow. They're going to be upgrading their traditional market exchanges and bringing it onto the blockchain field. And they're going to be using stablecoins. This entire development is happening because of stablecoins. Basically, Wall Street on the Russian side is about to go digital. So that is quite an impressive move. I mean, they're moving faster than Wall Street itself regarding going towards blockchain. They're building in a blockchain-based exchange. Russia's Moscow exchange is about to go on the blockchain, essentially. They'll be able to use stable coins and CBDCs probably. Let's see. But that is major news coming out of Russia. It makes sense. Russia's going heavily towards cryptocurrencies due to them being sanctioned quite heavily as well. Now, the next news is related to Japan. Moving on from the Russian news and the African news, now to Japan news. DMM crypto partners with Progmat to launch stablecoin under Japan regulations. So we have stablecoins from Russia that we just went through, and now stablecoin from Japan. DMM Crypto announced a partnership with Progmat Inc. to launch a new stablecoin under the Japanese regulations. The assets will be minted on the Progmat Coin platform, which is compliant with the country's laws. Institutions continue to dabble into stablecoins as it's a bridge asset for most users towards a wider option, which it is. DMM Crypto to launch stablecoins. DMM Crypto, a subsidiary of DMM Group, announced a partnership with Progmat Inc. towards rolling out a stablecoin compliant with Japanese regulations. The company disclosed that both firms will embark on a joint study as the first step to the project. According to the statement, the stablecoin will be utilized within the CMON protocol and will serve as a reserve currency for its treasury pool and a price mechanism for SMP. An interoperable Web3 network for the Japanese culture and entertainments featuring DMM Group's globally recognized catalog. So DMM is actually quite big in the Japanese market space, and they're now introducing a stablecoin. This is what their field of aspects are. So they're in the field of basically their catalog of video games, anime, movies, TV shows, and online streaming titles, bands, and brands. SMP, a soon-to-be-launched cryptocurrency intended to be the primary means of payment within CMON protocol and DMM's larger portfolio of companies. CMON protocol users will also be able to use fiat currencies and credit cards to transact on this platform. The CEO of DMM Crypto highlighted the need to create, which is by the name of Kazuki, highlighted the name to create a dependable digital asset, lauding the recent partnerships to enhance the project. Cassie also essentially added that the CMON protocol aims to create a platform where the community could experience its cultural universe. So quite a large Japanese entertainment company is about to be entering the ranks of the stablecoin space and essentially being accepting stablecoins or cryptocurrencies for entertainment purposes like video games, anime, movies, TV shows, online streaming titles, brands, bands, everything you can think of in Japan is about to be accepted for digital payments, which is quite massive coming out of Japan. Now, what the next news I'm going to be telling you about, moving on, quite a list of countries or continents in this case we went through. So we went through the continent of Africa news, we went through the Russian news, we went through the Japanese news. Now we're going to do the South Korean news on the blockchain space. But before we do that, the South Korean news, let's go inside the comment section first. Let's see what questions are inside the comment section, and then we go to the South Korean news. And South Korea is, just to give you the title, basically South Korea is becoming a global blockchain powerhouse, which is, I mean, they're not lying, and I'll give you a rundown as well why they're not lying in 2 seconds after we go through the comment section. Let's see where we were. Let's see. And no, we were here. Do you think AI will replace politicians one day? Yes. Do I think AI will, replace politicians one day? Yes, 100%. Because politicians are basically, somebody that reads from a piece of paper. So, if they can replace politicians with AI, the people that already control politicians, if they can replace them with AI, they would. Because why would they need They just need to get people used to the idea of AI first, used to the idea of, AI robots in terms of, Elon Musk and so on, what he's building. And by the way, Elon Musk robots apparently going to be launching in 2025. There are speculations that came out from Elon Musk himself as well regarding 2025. No deadline has been given, but there could be a launch in 2025 regarding Elon Musk's robots, their first generation. But they will have to first get people used to the idea of AI and so on. Then yes, eventually they will replace all politicians because they're all useless anyways. I mean, the people that hire them know that politicians are useless. They just need any moron to read from a piece of paper and to, basically do whatever they tell them to do. And if they could replace that with an AI, they would do that in a blink of an eye. It's a useless job. Russia next month, so 100%, 1,000,000%, 1,000,000,000%, they will replace politicians with AI. Russia's next, and also it was a particular topic that 2 scientists were talking about, that essentially politicians can also be replaced by AI, and better judgment is made by AI than it is by people, because AI doesn't think about greed. AI doesn't need greed. AI doesn't need money and so on. So it makes a better judgment. When your judgment is based on greed and power, you're going to make wrong judgments. your judgment is based on power, greed, and emotions, you're going to make wrong judgments. But when your judgment is based on, maths, in other words, in this scenario, of an outcome, then you're not basing it on power, greed, and emotions, because you don't have any, you're AI. But it could also go south as well, knowing AI. Russia's next month is offering a temporary citizenship, 3-month visa to any disillusioned with European thinkings and values. That is true. Putin has opened its doors to anyone that wants to join Russia. If you live inside the United States, or in general, if you live in the West and you want to, leave the West and go and live in Russia, Putin has opened their doors to anyone who wants to live in Russia and experience that Russian lifestyle. Nothing wrong with Russia. I actually have quite a lot of Russian friends, amazing people, every single one of them. And it is a great country and so on and so on. But I would say fix your country rather than leave your country. To anybody thinking about inside the United States, leaving the United States, don't do it. I wouldn't suggest that. Helping to fix your country is a better solution than leaving it behind. Because it's all fair and so, you don't want to, it's not about supporting your government, it's about being proud of your country. It's got nothing to do about being proud about your government, because how can anyone say that? Nobody's proud about their government. But being proud of your country is what that matters, the people of your country and so on and so on. So if you can fix your country, it's a better solution than leaving your country behind. About your heritage, as in being proud about your country's heritage and so on, is what I basically mean. Not the other proud. Hopefully AI will see we don't need politicians. Yeah. What we bullish on? What am I? Tana, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? What am I bullish on? Quite a lot of crypto projects. Which ones are you interested in? I hope that mostly finance projects. The number one category inside the crypto space is finance, money going digital. Number two is data. Data is as more important than oil as time progresses. Everything is reliant on data in the digital world. It's just quite obvious. And Web3, data, AI, data, gaming, data, whatever you name is data related in a digital world. So data is going to be remaining number two category for always inside of a digital space, inside a crypto space. Number two category is data. Number one category is always going to be finance. Money going digital is always going to be number one. Data is going to be number two in terms of category. Number three will most likely be AI and so on, and then progressing downwards the list. Tokenization will fall under the category of finance. Yeah, I was going to say another thing as well, but yeah. Hopefully AI will see we don't need politicians. Riddle, yep. I hope that my family is doing well today. Miles, how are your parents? How are you doing? How's your business? My business doing very well. My family as well. Thanks so much, Scott, for asking. How's your family doing, Scott? What's up, Miles and CMF? I'm just home from a game to the biggest level of the Netherlands. I scored but lost. Bill, let's go still. Any XRP news today? What's bullish? Quite a bit of news we have through. XRP news 1, we're about to go through right now. Relatish. I agree, Miles. I love your quote. Fix your country as opposed to leaving your country. Miles, crypto business owner and philosopher. Let's go, Scott. Thanks so much for the kind words. People don't realize they're giving away their biotech information when they're wearing Apple Watch. That's true. I've been watching Sui. What do you think about it? Sui is a good project. It has a prospering future ahead of itself. It's definitely a project to keep on the tracks regarding Sui. Research into it and so on. There has been a little movement in XDC. Yes, there has been. XDC has an extremely bright future ahead of itself. By future, I mean long-term future. But XDC is in the finance category. In the finance category, some crypto projects in the finance category, number one category, have an immense future ahead of themselves. Now, South Korea. South Korea raises a global. South Korea is rising to become a global blockchain powerhouse, which is, in my opinion, truth. It genuinely is, because they're making major investments in quite a lot of established crypto firms around the world. Their pension funds are going towards crypto firms, which is, they were one of the first countries to do this maneuver of putting pension fund money into Coinbase shares or some other essentially firms and so on. But let's go into this. With its tech-savvy population and cutting-edge infrastructure, South Korea is rapidly emerging as a leader in blockchain development. Technological innovation permits daily life in this country, where high-speed internet is widely available. It's no surprise that 94% of South Koreans are online, as opposed to North Korea, which is 0%. Or actually, the Lazarus Group is about 1%. Long known as the powerhouse for technological advancements, South Korea is now making significant strides in decentralized finance, thanks to the supportive government policies and a surge in blockchain enthusiasm. The country is not just keeping up, but setting the pace. As South Korea essentially pioneers in groundbreaking solutions and expands access to financial services, let's explore how this establishment itself is one of the world's primary blockchain hubs. Many countries are aiming to become blockchain hubs. The list is quite long, with essentially the UAE, the UK, Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan. The list just goes on with the amount of countries aiming for it. But moving on, South Korea leaps into DeFi. South Korea is rapidly establishing itself as a key player in decentralized finance, DeFi, capturing global attention with its impressive growth. According to the Korean Financial Services Commission, the value of digital assets held by Koreans surged by over 60% in 2022, signaling the country's accelerating influence in the space. This growth aligns with the broader expectations, as the blockchain and DeFi markets are projected to expand at an annual rate of 30% over the next 5 years. Several factors are driving the rapid developments as well. First, South Korea's highly connected and tech-savvy population is quick to embrace new technologies. Second, the South Korean government has adapted to a forward-thinking approach to blockchain, fostering a regulatory environment that encourages innovation while essentially safeguarding consumers. See, Gary Gensler from the SEC, you can bring innovation and also safeguard at the same time. South Korea is doing it. Why call Gary Gensler? The Korea Financial Intelligence Unit, KOFIU, reports that the number of active users on registered exchanges grew by 390,000, reaching 6.45 million by the end of 2023. Furthering highlighting South Korea's bullish market, the Korean won surpassed the US dollar in crypto trading volume in the first quarter of 2024, with over $456 billion in trade. And regarding the KRO, essentially emerged as the most traded fiat currency against cryptocurrencies, edging out the US dollars. That is impressive in itself, where your currency of your country has surpassed the usage of US dollars when it comes to trading cryptocurrencies. This shift can be attributed to the zero-fee policy implemented by Korean exchanges, enhancing the KRO essentially prominence in the crypto space. Something that should be implemented everywhere else as well. Zero-fee policy, hell yes. South Korea, a prime market for tokenization. South Korea's influence in blockchain technology extends significantly in the tokenization of real-world assets and security token offerings, STOs. As the global market for real-world asset continues to grow, South Korea is emerging as the key player in this space. The country's robust financial infrastructure, high level of blockchain adoption, and strategic position in the global economy are fueling this expansion. Experts predict that Korea's STO market will reach a staggering $287 billion by 2030, underscoring its pivotal role in the future of tokenization, which some ambitious forecasts South Korea is setting the stage for a financial revolution that could reshape global investment landscapes in South Korea. Challenging facing South Korea's STO markets. Despite its promising outlook, South Korea's STO markets face notable challenges. One major obstacle has been the stalled tokenization securities issuance bill. Picture a roadmap to innovation that's been paused at a critical juncture. This regulatory uncertainty has created a roadblock for progress. According to a June 2024 report by Ryan Yoon, from the Tiger Research, the absence of a regulatory framework has slowed market growth. However, this regulatory ambiguity has created also opportunities overseas, which South Korean companies are seizing by listing their STOs while waiting for domestic regulations to catch up. The global market is now set for the waiting game, where South Korea's evolving policies could lead to groundbreaking developments. South Korea could actually pass other countries in terms of regulations right now. Even with these hurdles, South Korea's potential in the STO and real-world assets market space remains substantial. Financial institutions in the country are still not standing still. They're gearing up for the openings of the STO markets with a sense of anticipation and readiness. Security firms and banks are actively preparing for a new chapter, signaling optimism about the future of South Korea. The question now is not if, but when South Korea will overcome these challenges and fully unleash its potential in tokenization. Now, just to put it into perspective regarding South Korea, the number one cryptocurrency traded in South Korea is not Bitcoin, not Ethereum, not Solana. The number one crypto project, multiple data to show proof, is XRP. The number one traded crypto project in South Korea is XRP. South Koreans, there was a study test done, South Koreans prefer XRP mainly because of they said it's because of their pricing. So they said XRP, in their eyes, XRP has potential in the banking systems. XRP is fast in terms of transactions. It's cheap in terms of transactions. It's better for sending between family members and friends. If they want to send money, they prefer to send XRP. It's because it's faster and cheaper and so on compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum. And they see an extremely bright future ahead for the XRP ledger and XRP token itself compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum's future. Multiple study tests have been on South Korea. And even when, news sometimes comes out about Ripple, positive news comes out about Ripple, South Korea always does the most amount of trades. On the charts, whenever any news, good news comes out about Ripple, South Korea does more in terms of trades than any other jurisdiction for XRP. They're pretty much very positive on XRP. And I understand why. I fully understand why, because it generally does have a massive future ahead of itself. But some people can't see it. Will regulations specify countries? But putting all that to one side, South Korea is just about to become a crypto hub. And in terms of regulations, they're going to overpass quite a lot of jurisdictions in South Korea. They're going to pass quite a lot of jurisdictions because of the regulations that are coming out. And the last regulations that are pretty much coming out is tokenizations. If they get tokenizations off the bat rolling, then we can expect what crypto projects are going to do well in South Korea. Now, TON is the next crypto project we are going to be talking about, and Telegram. Now, for a very long time on this live show, when TON was first introduced, I talked about TON. I said it has a very bright future ahead of itself. And I also said that crypto projects would dream. The exact words I used were crypto projects will dream, like Solana dreams of having Telegram's user base, which is about 900 million users, and so on, which is true. Any crypto project would dream of having 900 million users, active users, which TON is going to have because of Telegram. Telegram designed TON and then dropped it because they were about to be sued by the SEC. Few developers picked up TON, and then TON, as a loophole, partnered back to Telegram. Now, so I've talked about Telegram's user base eventually shifting over completely to TON. It's about to happen. TON and Telegram plan to bring 500 million users to Web3 by 2028. Bybit, the second largest cryptocurrency exchange by trading volume, has released a report highlighting the progress of the Open Network in its collaboration with Telegram. According to a press release obtained by essentially the data, The partnership between Ton and Ton Telegram aims to onboard 500 million users to Web3 by 2028. Leveraging Telegram's nearly 1 billion users, Ton seeks to integrate decentralized applications into the messaging platform. The report suggests that Ton's partnership with Telegram could replicate the success of WeChat. Now, WeChat might sound familiar to a lot of people because Elon Musk wants to turn X into a WeChat type of scenario. WeChat is basically you get to order your Uber, message your friends, message your family, do video calls, do phone calls, order food, order a taxi, whatever you want to do in China, you can do it through a platform by the name of WeChat, which is also the experience, which is where also the idea for X becoming an everything app came from for Elon Musk. Elon Musk has mentioned it multiple times that he wants to turn X into a WeChat situation. And I've said that X is not the only one that's becoming an everything app, even though X will become an amazing everything app. Elon Musk, everything he touches turns into gold. Elon Musk knows what he's doing when it comes to technology, and he's an incredibly intelligent man. We also, on the other side of the spectrum, have Telegram, where Telegram is also aiming to become an everything app. For Elon Musk, as I said, we don't know what crypto project or which crypto platform he's going to be choosing for the backbone of X. However, for Telegram, with 900 essentially million users or 1 billion users, we know what platform Telegram is chosen because Telegram developed Ton. And eventually, all of those users on Telegram are going to be transformed over into Ton's ecosystem, which means 900 to 1 billion users on Ton's ecosystem, which is massive. So, on that basis, and this is why they've mentioned WeChat, the report suggests that Ton's partnership with Telegram could replicate the success of WeChat, the Chinese app, potentially positioning Ton as a leading platform for Web3 adoption. Significant achievements highlighted in the report include 280,000 daily active users on Ton, 800,000 daily transactions on Ton. Toncoin, the network cryptocurrency, has surged over 200% this year, making Ton the 5th most valuable layer 1 network with a market cap of $17.5 billion. Ton's strategy with Web3 crucial to success, and to Ton's strategy is in its integration of the Ton Space wallet and Telegram mini apps, particularly casual games that offer crypto rewards. This approach has driven the creation of over 6 million accounts since November 2023. Telegram's mini apps on the Telegram app and the consistent of tap to earn games like Notecoin and Hamster Combat, offering games and crypto-based rewards. Additionally, they are the fastest growing DeFi mini apps for the trading and staking services inside the crypto space. By embodying Web3 capabilities into the popular app, Ton is trying to take advantage of a unique opportunity for mass adoption of digital assets and decentralized finance. So, Ton, as I've said millions of times, amazing project, because 2 platforms are about to become an everything app in the West. One, X. X is going to become an everything app, and they're aiming to become WeChat. Telegram is also becoming an everything type of app as well. But here's the thing. X, we don't know what crypto project X is going to choose for their backbone. However, Telegram, we know with their 1 billion users what they're going to be choosing for their backbone. And it's Ton, because Telegram developed Ton. And then they dropped Ton because they're about to be sued by the SEC, picked Ton back up as a partnership, as a loophole. So Ton, if you haven't looked into it, go and look into it. 1 billion users are waiting to be adapted into Ton. Eventually, not overnight, eventually, but still, massive room to grow. And you want to be in now before it grows too much. Also, not financial advice in any sort of a way. Read into it, not buy it, read it. No financial advice. Now, moving on from the Ton news to Sony. A while ago on this live show, I revealed to everyone that Sony is getting involved in the blockchain space. A lot of Japanese companies are getting involved in the blockchain space, and Sony is one of them. Sony decided to build their own blockchain, and we have news on which backbones Sony has chosen to build their crypto project on. Before I tell you that news, let's go to the comment section first. So let's see if there's any questions in the comment section, and then we go to the Sony news. By the way, this is a live show, so if you have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'm reading everybody's questions one by one. Put it down. This is live on YouTube and X at the same time right now, as always, every single night. It's called the CMF live show if you're watching for the first time. Let's see. I agree, Miles. No, we're here. People don't realize they're giving away. Yes, that's facts. What Ronnie said, we're going Apple Watches. I've been watching Sui. What do you think? Sui's good. XDC is good. Share the program I just did. Let's go, Scott. Share the program I just did on X and YouTube. Let's go, Scott. Thanks so much for sharing. Thanks so much to everyone that's been retweeting and liking this live show. Honestly, thank you. UK will never be a leader in crypto due to capital gains refill, moving down to 3,000 next year, tax year. True, but the loophole in the UK is City of London. City of London is technically its own jurisdiction. It's its own province. The City of London is its own province, and it's not inside the United Kingdom. So the City of London is going to have different sets of rules than essentially the rest of the UK does. You forgot about that part. City of London is its own province with its own, essentially, parliament, with its own parliamentary system, its own police, and so on. It's technically a separate country inside of the UK, City of London, inside of Great Britain, essentially, or inside of London, you could say. So City of London will have different rules for bankers, which is all where the bankers are, and the bankers have the votes in the City of London, not the people. Will regulations in a specified country or all countries cause more stability in the market? Ripple will benefit from all countries developing and implementing regulations, correct? Yes. Capital gains tax inside the United States are ridiculous? Yes. Capital gains tax inside the United States is only for people above $1 million. I purchased TON 2. I recall your communications where you were talking about TON. I purchased TON. I continue to dollar cost average daily. Let's go, Scott. Power, I would have to look into it to give you a better perspective. X will use multi-currency. I'm on the same wave. Yeah, I think X is going to use multiple currencies as well, which gives a benefit to multiple cryptocurrencies. But in this case, Telegram is just TON, and it's just one benefit. TON. Sony will build on ACH and Jasmine. Is that what you assume? Okay. Well, here's the thing. They were building on ACH. They have a different project going on with ACH and Jasmine. The particular project I'm talking about regarding Sony isn't the one related to ACH and Jasmine. It's actually related to a multiple of other crypto projects, which are, I'll tell you now. So Sony joins layer 2 pioneers with Ethereum-based Sonium, is what it's called. Sony Blockchain Solutions Labs, an arm of Sony Group, recently linked a strategic partnership with Startail Labs, a key developer of Astor Network, to launch Sonium. This Sonium project is a public Ethereum project, layer 2 blockchain that aims to simplify user experience and encourage a broader adoption of blockchain technology. This is changing digital asset and decentralized systems landscape. Vision behind the Sonium project. In a detailed report, Sony Block Solutions Labs shared that Sonium is founded on the belief that blockchain should be accessible, scalable, efficient, and address real-world issues. The project aims to bridge the gap between blockchain technology, Web3, and everyday internet services, Web2. The technology firm shared that Sonium is a public Ethereum L2 constructed using Optimizer's OP. OP is the exact same project that Base is developed on. Notably, the L2 network is backed by Astor Network, ACH, Chainlink, see ACH is there, ACH, Chainlink, Circle, Optimize, and the Graph. Jasmine is not there. Jasmine is a different part. But for this one, the crypto projects that Sonium is based on, it's a public project. It's going to become very soon released. Please be careful about scam projects trying to pretend to be Sony projects. They're not Sony projects. Please be careful about scammers and fake projects pretending to be Sony. None of them were Sony. So the Sony project is based upon the ACH network, Astor network, Chainlink network, Circle network, Optimism network, and the Graph. These protocols are set to support Sonium, catering to diverse requirements across all sectors and users worldwide. The firm revealed that the blockchain testnet would be rolled out in the coming days. Once launched, developers and creators can craft their apps on using it early, developing tools and SDKs. Once launched, it's not launched yet, so please be careful about scammers pretending to be Sony. Above all, the blockchain is set to manage data processing swiftly with minimal fees. Ethereum blockchain sees widespread adoption. Several projects, including Blast Network and Tico, have found a home on the Ethereum blockchain to create innovative solutions inside the crypto space. The Ethereum blockchain flexibility, smart contracts, capabilities, and decentralized nature have driven its widespread adoption. Recently, OKX Exchange introduced Solana blinks to all Ethereum compatibilities, chains to further simplify user engagements. This feature is set to revolutionize the Web3 ecosystem and solidify the Ethereum position as a leading platform inside the blockchain space. Sony Group continues to innovate the Web3 world. Over the years, Sony Group has consistently delivered cutting-edge technologies that push the boundaries of blockchain innovation. The Japanese multinational firm has recently shown dedication to innovations that provide users with advanced solutions inside a digital landscape. In April, Sony Bank, a subsidiary of the Japanese firm, has launched a proof of concept initiative aimed at issuing stablecoins tied to the yen to the customers. Notably, this came after the video game division filed a patent request in March to explore the integration of NFTs to move the offered gaming users greater flexibility in utilizing game assets. In June, the tech giant announced its plans to enter the crypto trading scene by revamping the acquired local trading platform Whalefin. Sony is doing massive things right now. Sony Bank is releasing a stablecoin. Sony Games is going into NFTs. Sony itself is developing a blockchain. I mean, Sony is doing more than most companies out there. Definitely, they're doing a lot more than most companies out there. They're releasing a blockchain for their own entire department. Their Sony Bank is going into stablecoins, and their Sony Entertainment Group essentially is going into NFTs for games. So Sonium is going to be released soon. I'll definitely keep people updated on this live show. If you're tuning into this, follow if you already haven't, and you can tune into it every single night. And we'll talk about whenever this news comes up on updates. Don't worry, I'll share every update I get on Sonium. Sony will build. Yep. Imagine when GTA says you can make money crypto when you play. Yeah. I mean, it's not out of the question. There has been speculations and rumors that the next GTA, you're going to be able to make an income from it in terms of cryptocurrencies. I mean, it can be beneficial for a lot of people, especially people who've lost their jobs. If the money is decent, a lot of people can make money. Now, if your country has adopted a CBDC, you might be suffering, is what's just came out. So if your country has already adopted a CBDC, you might be suffering, according to a new study test. We're often told that central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, will promote financial inclusion and help people around the globe. However, research results indicate the opposite could be true. Where CBDCs have been adopted, well-being has declined in recent years. Would you look at that? So this is a study test based on countries that already have CBDCs implemented. Now, the study test is based on people's well-beings being under CBDCs. Are they happy people being under CBDCs and CBDC regulations and social credit systems, or are they miserable people? Well, here's a glimpse of everybody else's future in CBDCs from people who are actually under CBDCs. So we're often told that central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, will promote financial inclusion and help people around the globe. However, research results indicate that the opposite could be true, where CBDCs have been adopted and well-being has declined in recent years. particularly among young people and those with low incomes. The new research paper provides, my research paper provides the first comprehensive evolution of their early effects on the macroeconomics indicators and subject of well-being, utilizing cross-country data between 2019 and 2023. The results suggest that the benefits may be more limited than initially anticipated, coupled with potential negative effects on individual well-beings and financial stability. Limited economic benefits and untainted consequences. Data from the World Bank indicates, contrary to what you may think, higher income countries are more likely to pilot or launch CBDCs, with these countries having an average 5 percentage points higher per capita regarding their GDP, while those countries also tend to have larger populations, largely driven by China and India. There are no significant differences in net migration rates, male unemployment rates, or urban populations. Despite the enthusiasms surrounding CBDCs, the analysis suggested that their impact on key economic indicators such as GDP growth and inflation has been minimal. The study's statistically models compared countries that either piloted or launched CBDCs between 2019 and 2023. So this is a study test of countries that have launched or piloted CBDCs within their jurisdictions from the year 2019, when CBDCs were launched in some countries, until fast forward to 2023. Recognizing that countries that pilot or launch CBDCs may be systematically different from the counterparts. Now, it's also been created a systematic control group that match countries within their CBDCs with others based on a non-linear combination of controls. In other words, while there was no single country, a combination of characteristics over each country allowed for the construction of the systematic control where possible. Data was used to find out their measurements within countries had changed after CBDC adoption. The study found no evidence that CBDCs correlated with greater GDP per capita or lower inflation. These findings challenge the prevailing narrative that CBDCs are the advance for a better GDP in a country, particularly in low and middle income countries. That is true. So India, regarding their CBDCs, when India announced they're going to CBDCs, they said that their GDP is going to be skyrocketing as the years to come, because they're going into CBDCs. And a few other countries that are also launching CBDCs said something on the similar lines of, yes, when they go into CBDCs, their country's GDP is going to be skyrocketing and so on, which, according to a study test, it hasn't. It stayed relatively the same, and most people have become more poor. However, macroeconomics indicators only go so far, especially in developing countries where the data might be less reliable. The Goal Up and its World Poll, which is the leading source of data for constructing measures of subjective well-being across countries over time, provided the data for two additional outcomes of an interest. Whether an individual was thriving and their financial well-being, the former is measured based on the responses to questions relating to a self-assessed ranking of current life satisfactions and expected over the next 5 years. Life satisfactions both on 0 to 10 scale. Financial well-being is measured in response to several assessed questions about the ease of paying the bills and financial anxiety. So Gallup's data indicated that CBDCs negatively correlated with both the probability of an individual was thriving and their financial well-being. As a result, that was concentrated among young people, the younger generation, lower income populations. So the younger generation and the lower income generation, the lower income households, were the most affected in nations that have already launched CBDCs. These people, who are often the target audience for financial inclusion in activities, report feeling less financially secure under CBDCs. After estimating these statistical models relating of well-being with CBDC adoption, countries, controls, and individuals' demographics, the data identified where the declines in well-being have been the greatest. The CBDC interested countries with the largest declines between 2020 and 2023 in terms of respondents who were thriving, according to the Gallup and World Up, were South Africa, Sweden, Thailand, and South Korea. Sweden and South Korea have announced a pilot CBDC program, while South Africa and Thailand have started developing their CBDCs in the first quarter of 2024. The importance of design and regulation. One of the critical challenges facing central banks is designing CBDCs that maximizes the benefits while minimizing the risks. The risks associated with CBDCs are not trivial. They include potential financial instability through the disintermediation of banks, the erosion of privacy, and the concentration of financial power, which I've essentially written about in Cointelegraph. These risks are particularly pronounced in the central bank if directly manages all aspects of CBDCs, which could undermine the traditional role of commercial banks and reduce the availability of credits. As the Jules Fernandez and the call for us essentially showed in 2021 paper. Hybrid CBDC models could reduce some of these risks by allowing private sectors intermediaries to interact with customers while central banks oversee the system, preserving a role of commercial banks and ensuring that CBDCs complement rather than disrupt existing financial systems. Additionally, implementing strong privacy protections and limiting the centralizations of power are essential to prevent the potential misuse of CBDCs. That is a stark contrast to the way that some countries have implemented CBDCs, particularly China. However, further work is needed to assess the architecture of CBDCs affects both economic and social outcomes. I mean, that's a new report that's just came out regarding CBDCs of is CBDCs good, is CBDCs bad, people who are already on the CBDCs in certain countries. And it seems like the younger generation is not doing too well in the CBDCs. Neither is the lower house incomes doing too well in CBDCs. But you'll never hear that on major news channels. You'll never hear CNN or BBC or any sort of major news channel talking about those kinds of aspects. But that is a study test based on actual data. So far, countries that have launched CBDCs, are the people doing good? Are they doing better? Is the GDP growing? And all the answers are no. They're just being trapped one by one. So, as I've said multiple times, if you don't want to be stuck on CBDCs for the rest of your life, a very simple thing you can do. 24,000 crypto projects. It's a project called XRP. It's the backbone. What would you rather do? Be on CBDCs or be a part of the backbone of CBDCs? 24,000 crypto projects and only one has an active CBDC platform. And according to the Bank of International Settlements, 98 centralized banks, 98% of centralized banks are in CBDCs. Either in test stage, research stage, pilot stage, and so on. But 98% of centralized banks are in CBDCs. And there are 24,000 crypto projects, 24,000 plus crypto projects, and only one has an active CBDC platform that's being used. And only one has multiple CBDC awards. It's called XRP. It's not rocket science, it's just the truth. But yeah, there's a study test of a glimpse of everybody else's future. Now, we have reached also the endings of times. I'm not leaving till I hear the Tether news. JP, the Tether news was right at the beginning of the live show. JP, you were here for the Tether news. The Tether news was it was like the 6th news I read out. Tether CEO explains why Tether abandoned launching its own blockchain, where he talked about in the market where blockchain deployment has almost a trend. Tether Holdings, the issuer of the world's largest stablecoin, USDT, has decided not to follow this trend. You were here for the Tether news. But yeah, that CBDC news is another reason why you should be an XRP. Genuinely. Otherwise, that's your future because you listen to a crypto influencer that said CBDCs are bad. Because there are many crypto influencers out there who are going essentially XRP is a terrible project, no future, but they're all holding XRP. But they say XRP is a terrible no project. XRP has a terrible future ahead of itself, and so on and so on. So there's so many bad things about XRP. And then once we go into a CBDC world, you spent 4 years inside the crypto space not preparing for a CBDC world because you were busy chasing your crypto influencers' advice which was stay away from XRP. And then now we're in a CBDC world, and there's 24,000 crypto projects, and only one has an active CBDC platform, and you're not holding XRP because your favorite crypto influencer told you XRP is bad. And that just comes down to your own brain cells at that point. Now, let's consider the comment section. Materialistic things will never make you happy. Designer goods are there to keep people poor, which is true, facts. Miles, you have added Sui to your portfolio? No, but it's a great project. I think it's already on my portfolio. I have quite a lot of projects on my portfolio. I think it's already on it. UK is the second most unhappy country. I wonder why. Real world assets. Yep. My son's friend pays his rent each week by gaming on TT Live. He's doing really well for himself. Let's go, Shelly. Miles, have you added Sui to your portfolio? A little bit, not that much. The UK is the second most unhappiest country. I wonder why, which is true. Materialistic things will never make you happy, which is true. Good night, Miles and CMF. Great news. JP, see you tomorrow, brother. Sometimes usual. And I said hi back to Ronnie. Yep, you did. Great show, Miles. Scott, thanks for the kind words. I'm not leaving till I hear the other news. We read it. Face plant. Let's go, Shelly. What happens when you come with your nano ledger like they did for your gold? Well, you say you lost on a boating accident. I'm not leaving till you do a whole live over again. Did your whole live again. Kerry, see you tomorrow sometimes usual. Orphan, good night, Miles and CMF. See you tomorrow sometimes usual. He was probably busy buying flowers for Woodhouse. Miles, I wish you would join some of these idiots' lives and tell them the way it is. No, do you know why? Do you know why I don't join some of these idiots? Do you know why I don't join some of these crypto projects, some of these crypto influencers' lives and tell them that they're wrong? Because for some people, when you talk to them, it's like talking to a brick wall. No matter what you say, it will just bounce off. And I always say, here's the thing. I always thought that I could save everybody. As stupid as that may sound, as dumb as that may sound. But when I was younger, I thought I could save everybody. That's why everything I do, I provided completely for free. So I always thought to myself, I could save everybody and I could save this world. The older I got, I realized I can only save some. And some, it's just when you talk to them, it's like talking to a brick wall. So I realized that over time, some people just need to go through their own mistakes. And no matter what I do or however I try to steer them the right way, they're not going to listen to me. So some people just have to go through their own mistakes. And these crypto influencers that are saying the wrong things, but they assume they're saying the right things because of what they perceive it as, they're going to go through their own mistakes. No matter how severe their mistake is going to be, it's quite severe being stuck on CBDCs, but they have to go through that mistake. And no matter what I say or what I do, I'm not going to be able to steer them away. I can only help people that have an open mind. So, everybody inside the CMF has an open mind, which means I can help you. So everybody inside the CMF has an open mind, which means I can help you because you have an open mind. But when you have, such a closed mind and you have your thoughts set on and you say to yourself, this is it, this is my way, you can't talk to people like this. It's like talking to a brick wall. Whatever I say will just bounce off. So some people, I've realized over time that they have to go through their own mistakes, and their mistake is going to be quite big. Being stuck on CBDCs is one hell of a mistake to do, but they have to go through it. No matter what I say or what I do, I can't change their opinions. So why even bother? I can only help people who have an open mind. Thank you, Miles, for that info. You have given us, Mike. No problem, brother. See you tomorrow sometimes usual. Good night, Miles and CMF. Carol, see you tomorrow sometimes usual. Thank you, Miles. Have a lovely night. Oh, Lena, thank you so much. See you tomorrow sometimes usual. I know, I just want to see you give it to them. It will be like, yes, that's my boy, lol. Let's go, Shelly. Shelly, see you tomorrow sometime as usual. Let's not create enemies from other influencers because they'll just report the live for no apparent reason. Did you answer my Sui question? Sorry, I missed it. Yes. So regarding Sui, I hold some, not a drastic amount, but it's still a good project. But the financial projects are still number one for me. Nothing beats the finance projects and then the data and so on. But Sui is on the list, yes, but not in a large amount at all. But still a great project. There's nothing wrong with it. So we have reached the endings of tonight's live show. If you enjoyed this live show, drop a follow, drop a like. This was the CMF live show where you can tune into it every single night. And I talk about the most recent things that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, and regulations. This was episode 137 of the CMF live show. I know on X it says episode 127, but it's actually 137. The title on X has not been changed for about 5 live shows back to back because it has a bug in the system. So it's actually episode 137. So if you enjoyed this live show, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night. If you're not following me already, follow. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. If you haven't retweeted or liked the live show, put a comment after the live show, please do it. Helps with the algorithm. And if you already haven't joined the Telegram group of this live show, the link is on X. Just click on the link on my X profile, and then the Telegram link is there, or on YouTube, the link is there as well. I will see everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. See everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual for the CMF live show for episode 138. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're around the world. Don't cut your nose off to spite your face, to spit in your face. In other words, yeah. Good night, Mike. See you tomorrow, brother. Same time as usual. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world.